to share some passages from John's 3rd chapter. Right in the middle of it are the football passages that you often see plastered around the stadium. And just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him may have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that everyone who believes in him may not perish but have eternal life. Indeed, God did not send the Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. Those who believe in him are not condemned, but those who do not believe are condemned already because they have not believed in the name of the only Son of God. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and people loved darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. For all who do evil hate the light and do not come to the light, so that their deeds may not be exposed. But those who do what is true come to the light, so that it may be clearly seen that their deeds have been done in God. So it's the reading of God's holy word. Invite us to pray again. Oh God, in being here in this worship time, we are, in a sense, coming to your light. The very act of gathering is seeking your light. You know within us the mixed feelings about light that we hold. Sometimes we welcome it wholeheartedly, sometimes perhaps not. But whether we welcome it or not, may it become a blessing in our life. May your light truly transform our hearts this Lenten season, that we might more closely resemble the living Christ. We ask this in your holy name. Amen. Well, as Mary Ann alluded a moment ago, things become precious when they're scarce. For instance, during this recent power outage down in my neck of the woods, and it was a lot of woods, one thing that became very precious and very scarce was light, especially after about 6 p.m. Now, those little candles, the classic candles, are lovely accessories to a well-appointed living room, but as a primary source of illumination, they're pretty lame. Roughly calculated in my little brain, a single candle probably provides less illumination than a 1-watt light bulb, if you could ever find a 1-watt light bulb. Or to put it another way, in order to brighten your home during a power outage to the degree that you're accustomed, you probably have to light so many candles that you set off the smoke alarm, and maybe your neighbors. Not recommended. And yet, in moments of darkness, of all kinds of darkness, many of us so crave the light. Sometimes, if for no other reason than to avoid stubbing our toe. Light is also prized not just for letting us see, but for letting us be seen. Among the various new features, fancy new features on my car, there is what I call the eternal light feature. I paid a heavenly sticker price for the darn vehicle, so why not? What this means is that my car has lighting that comes on day or night, whether I turn the headlights on or not. In fact, the first evening that I drove my car, I forgot to turn the headlights on for the first quarter mile, because I thought they were already on, because my previous car had such dim cataract headlights that the light was about the same. So wasn't I delighted when I actually turned the lights on and it was so bright, and other motorists were delighted too. But as much as we love the light when it's scarce, our feelings, I think, about light are decidedly mixed. Sometimes the light can be ruthless. Case in point, there is a restroom in Quail Summit with enough lighting to give you a tan while you wash your hands. Maybe you've been there. And if by chance, by some amazing stroke of good luck, you happen to enter that restroom with an overabundance of confidence in how you look, that restroom will take care of it. There isn't a blemish, or an age spot, or a scar, or a wrinkle that will escape the scrutiny of those lights. And I thought about that after I left that restroom the last time. There may be a marketing ploy here. Because one look in that mirror with those lights, and even a 20-year-old may inquire about the availability of apartments. Jesus came into the world bearing light, the light of God. Earlier in John's Gospel, we hear, in him was life, and that life was the light of all humanity. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness is not overcome it. End of quote. And it's true, the darkness cannot overcome it. But the darkness sure can try to avoid it. I've been on a Tolkien kick lately, rewatching the trilogy of movies involving the lowly hobbit named Bilbo Baggins. And in one scene, not especially central to the plot, Bilbo and his dwarf friends are just about done in by 3 huge and rather stupid trolls who are bent on roasting our friends over a fire on a spit. And the good guys are saved only by the dawning sunlight, which, as anyone knows, turns trolls into stone. So they become ponderous, fragile sculptures, but essentially harmless. I don't know where this idea came from, this idea of trolls being turned into stone, or vampires succumbing to the daylight, but over the years, literature and lore have repeated this theme of light vanquishing evil. And even in our current age, the healing power of light takes on a new meaning when we think of the power of concentrated light, known as laser, employed to treat diseases, perform surgeries. And for those who are susceptible to seasonal affective disorder, light becomes truly an ally, as it can lift our moods, provide vitamin D, give us what we need to make it through the rest of winter. This is a complete aside, but incidentally, I wanted to ask somebody to explain to me why, when the groundhog sees his shadow, which would presume light, there's 6 more weeks of winter. I never could figure that out. It sounds like punishment. He's afraid. So, with the exception of those of us who happen to resemble vampires or trolls, light is our friend, right? I mean, and here I think it's important to reiterate the most important message of our faith, I believe. That Jesus Christ, the one who bears the light, came into the world not to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. The underlying intent is love. A saving love that does for us what we cannot do for ourselves, retrieving us from the forces of darkness, both within us and beyond us. So I want someone to remind me of the benevolent nature of light. Come the day when I find myself in the dermatologist's office, bathed in that uncompromising light, waiting for something to be burned or cut away from me in the service of life and health. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about the light that day. Jesus brings to us a similarly uncompromising light, a light bent on good, delivering healing love, even if it might not feel especially good at the moment. We're getting to that time of year when some folks start to plant seeds, some of them inside, to germinate and later plant in the garden. I'm too lazy to do that. I let Joseph's Wayside Market do it. Catch it later in the process. I was reflecting a bit on seeds recently, and most seeds I know enter the darkness of the earth, where light is very scarce. And thereafter they spend considerable energy seeking the light, eventually poking their little heads up above the ground and growing into plants bearing fruit that later appear on our plates. But a seed which contents itself with staying underground in the dark never quite fulfills its potential. It's not necessarily a bad seed, it's just unfulfilled, with its glory never quite realized. Seeds seem to have one advantage over a lot of us humans. They generally don't resist the light. People, on the other hand, can dig in their heels and fight it. And even when the light is inevitable, we can sometimes act a little squirrely when we know the light is coming. We've all heard about people who clean their house before the house cleaner comes. Then there's the dental floss campaign once every 6 months, the night before our dental cleaning, because we know we're going to be in the light. So as much as we need the light, we don't necessarily want it. We don't necessarily want it to reveal the whole truth. But to be sure, embracing the light can be difficult. Sometimes experiences of pain or loss or violation make opening ourselves to the light very frightening. Maybe because we're reluctant to trust. Sometimes, perhaps with very good reason, we wonder whether the light will heal or burn. At such times, sometimes the company of friends can help us to dare to seek it even so. Albert Schweitzer wrote this: "At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude for those who have lighted the flame within us." Sometimes our fear isn't that the light will reveal something bad, it's that it'll reveal nothing at all. Ellen DeGeneres once quipped, "In the beginning there was nothing. God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. There was still nothing, but you could see it a whole lot better." And that's where Christ comes in, bringing love into nothingness and creating something, bringing light. I'll close with this little anecdote. Kindergartner went in to use the restroom on the first day of school. It's a bathroom equipped with a motion-activated light. And after sitting quite still for some time, the light in the bathroom suddenly went off, and a voice was heard crying in the darkness, "Hey!" And I think the instruction was given to flail her arms around a little bit, and the light returned. Sometimes, like the kindergartner, we need to move to find the light, but it's worth the effort. So this Lenten season, may we head toward the light of Christ.